Hi and welcome back here. My name is Orly. I'm an aviation English teacher and my job is to help future French professional pilots and French professional pilots already working to improve their English in order to have a better and more efficient communication on board. So in my previous video, I talked about the TOEIC 4 skills for the cadet program because time is running and it's nearly time to do that test, to take that test, and the deadline is in October. In today's video, I will mainly focus on the part that most candidates fail, are under the requirements from Air France, and this is the speaking part. The speaking part is definitely challenging for French speakers, and I've seen candidates not focusing on the right thing or just focusing on things that will help a little bit but are not really what is the most important. So let's dive into it. I already mentioned that in my previous video, but start with a mock test. You need to know exactly where you are, what is the problem, and where you have issues. So maybe the speaking part will not be an issue. It's rare, but it might be like the contrary. I've had that situation already, but make sure that speaking is actually really an issue for you. Maybe you already know that speaking is not your best skills, then this video might be useful. There are different skills that you need to practice in priority in order to get the highest score. And in order to do that, do not focus on the content of your answer. Your content is, of course, important, but it's not the essential point. And the essential skill that is assessed from the first part to the last part in the speaking section is pronunciation. Pronunciation is literally the only skill that is assessed all along the speaking part. And then, so from the first part until the last one, the different, they will add more skills. So the very first section is, the very first part is the reading text. So you don't even have anything to say, you just literally read a text. But if you sound like a robot, you have really strong French accent, you have no intonation, no stresses, it's not a good start. And then they will continue to listen to the rest. But really keep in mind that pronunciation will be your number one skill to improve. After the pronunciation, you need to make sure that your answers are relevant. It means that you give the right answer to the question or to the task, and it's not something completely out of context or anything like that. It doesn't need to be very extremely complex answer. The content just needs to be logic, and that's all. Content, really the content. You need to use discus markers or any keywords that will show that you manage well conversational English, because here we are actually mainly listening to your conversational English, and it's not academic English. It's a speaking exercise. So you need to use discus markers like, well, you know, however, first, second, then. You need to organize your speech with natural, spontaneous expressions that will show that your English is sufficient. Again, it doesn't need to be really complex words, but at least using some of them will definitely help you. One last thing that I would recommend to focus on first is making sure that your sentences are correct. Basic structures, basic grammatical structures must be controlled. If you put the words in the wrong order, you add words where you're not supposed to have, you forget verbs, you forget prepositions, you can't make it, you can't go to that 170 points. So make sure that your structures are controlled, you have a good pronunciation and a clear pronunciation, better than good, and your answers are relevant, they are logic from the task you're asked for. Another thing is time management. That is also really important in the rest of the test, but I think in the speaking part is even more challenging because the timer is running in front of you and you have really short time to prepare. It's usually around 30 seconds to 1 minute max, and you don't have time to take notes. So all that prep time before speaking is actually just in your head. So you need to practice, how can I organize, what can I think of in those like 30 seconds? How can I manage my brain? How can I classify, categorize, whatever you want to use in your head? And this is literally something you need to practice. Above any linguistic skills, you need to be able to think quickly, organize quickly in your head without taking notes. And then having quickly ideas what to say. And again, it doesn't need to be really complex or really like, we're not doing a philosophy exam, so it doesn't need to go really into something. For example, the image description doesn't need to be really detailed, but you just need to go through the image. So the image is the tool. What they assess is your English level, and it's not really how much you say, but how you say things. You can prepare for yourself structures to reuse. So for example, always do the same pattern when you describe an image. Always go from the most obvious and then kind of zoom out. It's one structure, but it can be something else. Have words that you know you will use all the time to express your opinion, because there's one section where you need to express your opinion. So have like ready to use vocab that you know exactly what are the different parts, what is the vocabulary you need to use, and just you will do it once, so always use it. Make sure you have sufficient database in your brain to reuse during the test. And the last one is improving your concentration skills. You need to find very quickly ideas, so you need to be creative. If you're not creative, it's gonna block you, literally. Like you're gonna be in front of the computer, nobody's interacting with you, and you have to speak very quickly on a question that you might not even know what to say. And here, if you're not focused, if you don't have your full energy, if you don't have sufficient food, if you don't have sufficient water in your brain, you might not be so creative. And here, this is not even a linguistic or test skill here. It's just that you don't know what to say. And this is extremely frustrating. In order to develop that, you need to get some practice. You need to practice. Don't do just the theory. Practice and see what caused you problem, what blocks you, what solutions you can have. Having a basic structures that you can reuse, like some sort of a scenario that you can reuse, really helps in this kind of situation. Right, that's it. That's my most important tips to improve and get a better score at the TOEIC for skills. So I hope this will help you. I wish you a very nice day, evening, whenever you're watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.